Another weekly outlook. We're going to be looking over few pairs very quickly. First, I want to start on the DXY. Last week was not the best week. I think this week is going to be a lot more volatile for a lot more pairs. But if we start over here on the weekly, on the dollar, as we can see, we're at the highs. We're at the top of a structure since literally last year. So this is a big play for the dollar. Even if we do push up, we're not going to go. I don't believe we're going to go much more higher before we see that decline that we're waiting on to the downside for probably the rest of the year. So to keep our eyes on the dollar, the DXY, as you can see, last week we already started to get some reaction, a huge engulfing bearish candle. So now for these first couple of days of this week, we just have to wait and see if price consolidates to go further downside, which I do believe we will do here before we take a trade. So we'll watch that. As far as gold continued to push up last week. Gold was the best pair of last week, but it just was no entry, to get in for any buys. Blew through those highs, and now it's created a new high. So we have to just wait and see. There's really no buy or sell, just because it's very, very bullish right now. Not consolidating much to get in to be able to get an entry trade. So we just have to sit on our hands on gold and wait. Euro USD. If you look on the weekly here, we've been in this descending channel for quite some time, almost 2 years. As you can see, we're making this pattern. So the question is, how long are we going to make this pattern before obviously we break up above and then continue to break out for higher highs, right? Now, as I am always mentioned, these consolidations can go for quite some time, but I do believe this may be our last push down, and now we will be transitioning for that upside move on Euro USD, right? And that correlates with our dollar direction. Yeah, I do believe this is about ready. So this may be the week that we see Euro USD with that bullish momentum. Now, don't get in early, trying to buy this, and then you get one more little push down, and then they spike up really hard. Okay, be very, very patient. And as you can see, we already broke these lows, already tagged all these stops, got all these entry orders. So now it's time to move. Okay, it's time to make a decision. And if you go down to our 4 hour and then our 1 hour where we're going to enter, we broke up last week, but we didn't get that consolidation, that confirmation flag move to continue higher, okay, because it was late last week. This week we got a huge gap, but that's okay. If it wants to go down one more, let it down. That's where we're going to be buying more, and then we're going to get this same move, right? We're going to wait for a conservative entry, and then we're going to enter. All right, that's Euro USD. So be patient with it. We did break out of this small inner trend line, but it didn't prove anything yet, right? Nothing was proven, so we have to wait. But upside. You don't want to be looking for sales this low. This is really low to be looking for sales. USD, obviously the same thing. Already broke, we're lower. We've been in this descending channel as well. More so on the daily, as you can see. We're at the low of those, broke the lows, so you don't want to be selling anymore. There's no selling pressure. In order for us to sell, this literally has to make probably a bigger consolidation like this, upwards to this trend line. That'll let us know that it's not ready to break out. Then we'll probably go down for another one. But if this starts pushing up, right, and we start getting bullish flags, then yes, we're gonna expect this to break out of that. That's eventually for the longer term. But right now, we're only looking for buys on the smaller time frame, to find those long-term swing entries. Okay, similar to USD CAD a couple weeks ago, which I'm going to go over. USD CHF, as you know, we've been looking at this bullish pattern here. Expanded flat. It didn't go up here. Came back to double bottom, expecting it to go, right? As you guys can see, well, it did not go, right? We got this pattern here, and we broke down last week. Now, question is, is this just a pullback, to go up higher, or is this really the move to keep going down? Well, we'll have to wait and see, all right? Smaller time frame pattern, we're going to go down, all right? So USD CHF, right? The question is, we can go back to tag these lows. We can literally come back to these lows. We don't know right now. We're just playing the pattern. Right now, it broke out of this pattern, this ascending channel. This was, bound to break out. As you can see, it squeeze into this wedge, and then we broke down. So any small little flag here, 4 hour, 1 hour, you wanna sell, and just hold, USD CHF. It's not the best of setups, but you wanna hold. Pound USD reacted nice off of our bottom. I was expecting upside, of course, to finish on pound USD. That can still happen. We are still in this pattern, right? Nothing changed at all. So what we have to do, go on lower time frame and wait, right? Even the 4 hour, the 1 hour, if we get some type of continuation type pattern here, then we'll look for upside. But right now, really choppy, really messy. Give it a day or two to play out. All right, give it a day or two to play out. But it's still in this overall pattern, so it's still valid for what we're looking for. NZD USD. We're gonna leave NZD for now. USD CAD. Let me show you guys the pattern that I'm talking about on the daily. This happened a few weeks ago here. Right? Same pattern that I'm talking about. As you can see, came down to the low, broke all these lows, and then it took off, right? That's what we're expecting on Euro USD. That's what we're expecting on AUDSD and so on. And as you can see, price really took off. So we need to wait and see what happens, right? Price is still in this overall huge bullish channel here that we don't know how it's going to play out yet. But price is at the high, already hit these highs. Are we going to break out of this, right? Are we going to break out, or are we going to, take a pump and dump? Which I think so, all right? Because as you can see, price lost a lot of momentum as we hit these highs, came down, chopped, came down. So, I think price will make its way up here, crawl its way, and then eventually we're gonna die down. Okay, so USD CAD, there's really no trade right now. There's no buy or sell. There's no clear pattern that we can tell. Maybe later on in the week we'll be able to tell a little bit more. USD JPY, we've been waiting on this for a while. As you can see, this was a bullish flag to go up. It just didn't go up as strong as it did here, which it should have. Right, we started really slow. And a lot of traders were thinking we're gonna come back one more before we go, but they do that a lot of times, right? They start real slow and then they just take off, right? So now that we got a good sense of direction of where USD JPY wants to go, all we have to do on the daily and the smaller time frames is, of course, wait for a corrective pattern, confirm this, and this can take a whole week, couple of days, and then we'll take that trade and hold it to targets, which will be here. Okay, so this will be a good long-term swing trade on USD JPY. That will look something like this, which will take probably 2 weeks or so to play out. But we have to wait for this pattern to get a little bit bigger if it wants to make that strong move. So right now, no structure as yet, as you can see. No structure. If you didn't get in here, no structure. GJ at the highs of this as well. GJ can make two different patterns. The pattern that I'm waiting for is more upside pattern, but if this is the impulse move on this side here, then we can be seeing a flat correction for maybe one more down before we go up. If it's not, and this is be the impulse, then we could be looking at something similar, like this. So one more downside is still possible. One more downside is possible since it wasn't as aggressive as it should have to take off. One more downside is possible, but if we don't get that downside and it just comes here and it starts to do this, yeah, we're definitely gonna be going up on GJ. But as you can see, this whole pattern is just very choppy. Euro AUD, let's stay out of it for now. Took off last week without us, so let's stay out of it for now. Definitely broke this channel, so we're in a new trend, but let's stay out of it for now. Pound AUD is much better than that, and I'm going to start on the weekly from Pound AUD. as you can see, our impulse here, and this has been correcting for a long 2-3 years already. Okay, so we are expecting, of course, this move, huge move to the downside. Pound AUD. That's long term, long term. Okay. Now, if you're a long term trader and you just want to risk it, obviously this would be the risk to reward ratio. Use proper volume size. That's 600 pips, but that's also 3,700 pips that you're going for. So the risk to reward is definitely there. You can even do 500 pips, for 3,700 pips, right? This is a huge move that will play out. That it's going to take, obviously a long time. Obviously, you don't want to be in that for that long time because that can take years. So you want to enter and exit as we go down, but you want to find the long-term direction first, which is downside. So now that we know the downside, we don't want to be buying anymore. We're at the highs, right? We got a huge bearish move already, right, on the daily time frame. You can see here. Go down into a lower time frame to see what's going on. So we got our bearish move here, right? And now we're getting our consolidation pattern. Okay, we're still in this pattern, right, guys? I want you guys to understand that we're still in this pattern, and we can do this for a long time, right? Breaking out of trend lines, remember, doesn't mean anything, right? The structure is still valid, all right? So we can move that. Structure is still valid. The only way it won't be valid is if price just, consolidates and breaks up above and breaks the impulse. But right now, this can literally do this all the way to the high and still break down. So we are still in this consolidation pattern, okay, to go downside. Now, when are we going to go downside? Just don't know. The best bet is go to a lower time frame, wait for, the best corrective pattern that you can find, and then you're going to trade it to the downside and hold, right? You're going to hold for a long time because this is a long-term trade. Your first take profit can actually be at the lows here, which is about 400 pips away, right? That's a swing trade in its own. So your first trade will look something like this, right? At the highs, 150 for about 400, right? That's a good risk to reward. 150 for about 400, right? That's your first risk. That's your first trade, right? And as when price hits here, then you'll wait to see what happens at this trend line. If it wants to bounce, wants to create a new pattern, but the overall long term is downside. So right now we're being patient on pound AUD, but this will probably be the best trade setup of the week. Pound CAD, nothing right now. Euro GBP, still looking for those upside on Euro GBP, guys. You can see the overall long term view on the weekly, expecting one more move to these highs here. Are we going to get it? We just don't know. We had a beautiful, turn up on the daily time frame. We had a beautiful consolidation pattern. Now we have another reaction. The problem is if Euro GBP goes up, pound will not go up. Okay, one of them will consolidate, or one of them will move lower. So right now we are still valid in this flag pattern. Okay, this flag pattern is still valid. Right, you guys can see the impulse, you can see the correction, right? The question is, this breakup, is this a correction to go higher, which I do believe. So we're going to be watching, we're going to be stalking this corrective move really, really closely this week. Okay, we're going to be watching this to go higher. All right, on Euro GBP, we're going to be watching that, and hopefully to break out of this trend. If it breaks out of this, then we're good. But if we just go here and consolidate here, then we're probably going to exit trades because we're probably going to be making, some lower moves. Pound CHF, nothing right now. It's just too choppy for me. I had some analysis that I liked. But I'm gonna wait and see kind of what it wants to do. Pound NZD really broke the highs of this, which I didn't anticipate it to do. So let's move this. So our next high is here before we get the lower move. Now my overall target before was here. Right, let me show you guys that analysis. Right, this expanded flat was here. But when price got here and started to do different things, I changed my analysis for some reason. But this is the overall move that I was expecting. That is very, very, that is, obviously almost there. All right, almost there. It's just that I didn't like this overall move here. And so, I got out, like, I think in here. I got out here some time ago. But price is still moving up. Maybe it will reach that target, but I'm watching these highs. right? About 10-20 pips away. I'm watching these highs to see what it'll do. Okay, but that was the initial. This was the initial pattern that I was looking for, which is playing out, So let's wait and see what pound NZ do. CAD CHF is beautiful. Let me show you guys the initial. This is the initial play. You guys can see the impulse. You can see the correction here, right? Flat pattern, and boom, price took off. Right now, what are we waiting on? We're waiting for a correction to get back in and trade it to the upside. But right now, we reached this outer trend line. As you can see, it had some reaction, so we have to wait and see what it wants to do. Right, but beautiful play off the lows here. So we have to wait and see. So let me show you guys what that look like. So if we get corrective here, bigger one, we're gonna trade it to the upside for another about 200 pips. All right, that's CAD CHF. Euro CAD. Actually, I want to show you guys Euro Jappy. Euro Jappy was beautiful as well. Show you guys what I saw. I saw an expanded flat. Once again, you guys can see 1, 2, it broke the low. I was saying, and once it broke this low, I said it had potential to turn up and possibly get back to this 100 level. Okay, so once price broke the low, it came a little bit lower, and then it finally took off. All right, finally took off. And this move here, I was expecting if we got a consolidation, which we didn't do. We just got some huge bullish pressure, and it took off. That's when you enter. Okay, once you see that bullish momentum, you don't see that correction anymore, then we're going to be reversing, as you can see. So now what are we waiting for? Corrective pattern here, and then we're going to be buying again, all right, to finish this move. That's Euro Jappy. So as you can see, right, we didn't get that corrective move to continue lower. All right, we didn't get it. What we started to get was a lot of bullish candles. Boom, you enter, put your stop loss below the low, and you let it go. Okay, because you already know the pattern that you see. Okay, so that's my pattern. So right now I can move this a little down. Boom. Okay, broke this right here. Don't have to move it yet. Right, we can leave it there. All right, we can wait for our consolidation, and then we'll target those highs. Euro Jappy was very clean actually. U.S. oil. U.S. oil is still playing around, but the overall pattern is upside, as you can see. This can be very tricky, but still playing this pattern here for upside. But I'm not gonna touch oil. Euro CHF, just waiting for the turn up. It'll happen, right? Similar to Euro JPY, it's just gonna bullish candles enter, and you're gonna get the breakout of this this pattern. As you can see, price is just crawling down. So we're gonna get that move, small pattern, and it's gonna take off eventually. All right, eventually. NZD CAD, nothing pretty. AUD NZD is special right now. This is the overall move I was looking for. AUD NZD upside. All right, we started to take off, and it stalled. Right, last week we had some news. The question is, are we going to push up again? Right now, if this is a pattern, flag pattern, then I think we will push up and continue up. Now the thing about it is we had an impulse move, and this is a correction. This is a bigger correction. So you have to be careful once price gets here if this is going to take one more deep down and then go up. Okay, that's very tricky. And I tell you, the price loves to do this. They like to start off slow, and then eventually they just go. So this is a risky one. If you don't know what you're doing, just wait probably for price to break up and then make a pattern, and then you can get in, because this can break up here literally and then just fall. It can't do that. And if you're sleeping or if you miss it, you're gonna lose some money. So that's AUD NZD, and I think that's about it. That's all I want to go over today. So that's the weekly outlook, and I'll be sending a few trades this week. Look forward to it, and I'll see you guys in the chat.